Hi everyone, you wanted to learn Spring Boot concept quickly? I am going to explain in this single session what is this Spring Boot, why we need this Spring Boot, how does Spring Boot working, what is the goals of this Spring Boot. Along with I will create a sample REST API using Spring Boot. I will explain all the important features with an example. Step by step, let's learn. I'm sure in a single video, if you go through it, you will be clear and you can crack any of the Spring Boot interview questions. Okay, let's see, understand one by one. I will explain what is the difficulties we are facing before Spring Boot and what is the benefits we are getting now. Okay, so all these features, Spring initializer and starter prompts, auto configuration, developer tools, actuator, lot of things I will explain in a single video. So let's understand one by one. Before Spring Boot, if anyone wanted to set up a project, it was not easy actually. It was taking 2-3 days, even more days time to set up a project. Okay, so but now it's quite easy, no need to because of this configuration, no configuration actually in the Spring Boot. Okay, so you see, dependency management, before there is a problem with these dependencies whenever you are planning for a applications. Okay, so if your application is communicating with some other application, suppose you are using a Spring application and wanted to communicate with a Hibernate applications, so your Spring, if you are using 5 and Hibernate you are using 3, so it will not support actually. It should be compatible. So all these things you need to think, and you need to think about the versions, and you need to think about the particular jars and all this. Suppose if you are developing a simple REST applications using Spring, you need Spring framework, you need MVC framework, you need JSON framework. So all these things is difficult actually, dependency management. Also, in this Spring Boot web.xml, you need to configure lot of things like dispatcher servlet and whatever startup and all, even any view resolver, component scan, all these things you need to configure. It is also tedious job. And whenever you are using a applications with non-functional requirement, like you wanted to apply some security, logging, error handling, monitoring, so all these things if you wanted to implement, you need to add some plugins or dependencies as well as you need. But in Spring Boot is a framework which already they have given all these things. It is quite easy. We'll see, like no configuration, no dependency difficulties and all. It will not take time, it will be quite easy. Okay, I will create one application, I will explain one by one all these features. Okay, let's understand first Spring initializer. Okay, what it is doing actually. So to understand this Spring initializer, I will create a simple REST applications. Okay, and that application, if you hit the URL, you will get this employee information, this kind of information. Okay, let's create it. So what we will do to understand that Spring initializer, you need to open your browser. Okay, and just type Spring initializer, go to this start.spring.io. Okay, so if you'll see here, we are going to develop a Java application. We'll choose, we need to select the options. Actually the default they have taken Groovy Gels, we need Maven project. Okay, and we will use this table build. I will suggest don't use any snapshot or any which is under development actually, snapshot build and all. Okay, so it is not stable, so use this already released 3.1.4 release. Okay, and you need to provide your group and artifact ID. Okay, like whenever you are creating a class, you are providing the package and class name, right? Like this group is your package name of your project. Like I will say like com.naren.java, and package name, and here artifact name, your application name, anything you can give. I will say like fast application. okay, something like that. Then you see I will choose jar, okay, and the default is it is actually spring 3. If you are using spring 3, you must be use more than java 17, okay. So make sure that you are having java 17 in your system, otherwise you download java 17, okay. Then you need to add some dependencies. I will add web, okay. So now you will generate it. Once you click on generate, you will download that project in the download folder. You see fast applications. Then you need to extract it. Then open this Spring Tool Suite, STS. Okay, STS you can also download and install. Okay, STS is suitable for the Spring Boot applications. If you use Eclipse, you need to add lot of plugins. IntelliJ also best, we can use that, but STS I am using here. Okay, so you just launch the STS. Then we need to import that downloaded folder. I have downloaded and extracted, okay, fast applications. So just right click here, or import project here also showing, right, and select existing maven project. You select here maven, then under maven existing maven project, then next, then browse, go to your downloads, fast applications. Whenever you will get mbn, right, up to that you go and select it. See, it is importing. It will take 1 or 2 minutes. It depends upon your network speed, internet speed, okay. So the spring initializer, we are not bothering for our structure. Before, whenever we are creating a applications, we need to worry for the structure, right. You see all the structure is came here. Our pom.xml file, we added that web.xml, sorry, web dependencies, right, it came. And you see this is our main applications, main class, okay. Spring boot applications main class, automatically it is generated, okay. And all these packages, this is resources and our properties file, okay. So our spring boot application we have imported. So if you run it, you can run like this. Just right click, run as spring boot applications. The default port, it will take 8080. If it is some other application already use this 8080, then it will, application won't run actually. You see, okay, it is showing some other error. The version, java version is not correct. Why? We use that 17, right? Here it is taking 16. So what we need to do, we need to change it, okay. You see alternate JRE, here I install this JRE, you can choose this, you see 17. So this 17 you need to choose. Now if you run it, run as spring boot application, what it is showing, application failed to start because this 8080 already used. So instead of 8080, let's use some other port. I will add a port, server dot port. In the application dot properties, you need to declare a new port, 8081 I will use. If it will run now, it will run as spring boot application, okay. This is the simple application, okay. So let's create a REST API, okay. So for that, what I will do, I will create a controller class, okay. So I will right click here and new class. I will say employee controller. Okay, this controller will act as a REST controller. So I will give this REST controller annotations. Okay, already it is imported the REST controller. Okay, then this REST controller, if you hit the REST controller, this REST controller, it will return, actually as I told, if you hit the URL, it will return this data, employee data. So we need to return the employee data here. So we'll define a method here, public method, which will return employee. So I will say like get all employee, the method name I will give. Okay, this employee will return a list of employees. Okay, list of employee, and let's, this will return a list, return arrays dot as list. I will return list of employees, new employee. Let's create employee object, sorry, employee class. Let's create first employee class. Okay, so I am importing, just Control Shift O, it will ask to import. Okay, so list I am importing. Okay, then I will create, you see this error, create a employee class. I am creating a employee class. Okay, so in that employee class, you see it is created here. I will define just two attribute, int emp name, sorry, int emp id, and let declare as private int employee id, and private string emp name. Let's generate setter getter. We need actually getter. Okay, and we need a parameterized constructor. Okay, so let's generate that. Generate getter and setter, generate parameterized constructor using field. Okay, so select all. We need only, okay, this is constructor. Okay, okay, let's generate it. One parameterized constructor generated, and let's generate setter getter also. We don't need setter, so I need only getters. So select getters. Okay, and also I need a toString. Source generate toString. This is the poser class we created. I just formatted. Okay, so there is a two attributes and parameterized constructor, getters and toString methods. And here what we will use, we will make use of that. This is the controller class. So this controller class will return list of employees. So what I am doing, I am just returning a list of employees. I am creating a employee object here. Let's create, suppose 1 2 3 employee id and name is Narendra. Like this we can pass multiple employee object, right? New employee. Let's create multiple employee object. 1 2 4, I will say Kiran. Okay, so what it will do, whenever we will call this controller, and it will return this. So here we can use one more annotation, like request mapping, otherwise get mapping also we can use. get mapping, and here we need to give path, which path you wanted to call. Okay, so I will say employees, anything you can give. Okay, so now let's run the applications. Okay, already it is running. I am just restarting it. Okay, because we did some Java code change, right? So now we'll hit it, we'll try to access the application. So what we'll do, http localhost what is the port we are using, 8081, and we are using the path is employees. Let's see, you see we are getting right 123 Narendra, 123 Kiran, two employee object we are returning here, right? So that two object we are getting there. If you will run this, you will see like this, but I am seeing like this because I added a plugin, I added a extension to this JSON format to this browser. That's why it is showing in a JSON format, in a proper view. Okay, so if you add that plugin JSON format, JSON format extension, okay, you can add from here. Okay, in your Chrome you can add that extension, it will show in a proper format, in a JSON format, otherwise it will show like this. So you see what we did, localhost. Why localhost? It is my laptop, and this is the port we are using, and this is the path. You see this path we given here, right? This is the controller. So here it is searching this path. If we'll change here to this path, emp list. So I'm just restarting, and here you need to change emp hyphen list. Okay, this is spring initializer. Okay, let's, and we saw that, right, how we created that application. This is a simple REST application, and how we access that, right? And this application properties file, it is under source main resources. Okay, here you can define your port. Okay, and what we created, this is the main application, and here we created a controller, and we created a Pojo class employee. Okay, so we created that by using that spring initializer, we created that applications and downloaded and imported. It's quite simple. We are not bothering for the structure, we are not added any of the configuration. Okay, we just selected there, we just selected by using the spring initializer, we selected the options, then it automatically generate the applications. Okay, how spring boot is easy, we created. Okay, now let's see next feature, that is starter project. Okay, so what is the starter project? You see, if you develop a spring application before the spring boot, if you develop a spring REST API application, you need to, as I told, you need to add spring MVC dependencies and Tomcat server dependencies, JSON conversion bin. You see what we did here, we are returning a, you see, we are returning a object. Okay, bin object, but here we are getting, in a JSON format. So all this conversion, Jackson conversion, how it is happening. Okay, so all these things we need to manually import the dependencies. Okay, and in the web.xml file we need to add that dependencies before Spring Boot. If we wanted to develop this uh, JUnit, Mockito, all these dependencies you need to add. So you think about it, it is really difficult things to add a new feature or to add a new functionality. Each time you will go to that pom.xml file and you will add the corresponding jars or dependencies. Okay, but Spring Boot thought about the solutions for this. Okay, how it can make it easy. So no need to worry for anything. He given the starter concept. We saw that here we added one starter, right? That is wave, that is taking care of everything. No need to add all this configuration. Okay, so if we wanted to talk to a JPA like Hibernate application or JDBC or REST, so many starter. If you'll see, Spring Boot already given all this Lombok, DevTools. We'll see some of the features. We'll see here. You see JPA and JDBC, Spring JDBC. Whatever features you wanted to use, just add the starter. Okay. So the starter, if we added that wave, right? If you see, if we'll come this pom.xml file, you see this wave it is added, right? Actually this wave, if you go this wave, okay, what it is doing internally, it is adding all the dependencies. Okay, starter for building wave including RESTful applications using Spring MVC, uses Tomcat as the default embedded container. So what it is doing, it is added all the MVC related things. It is added Tomcat embedded server. It is added all these things. You see, this is Tomcat, this is wave. Okay, web MVC, all these required things it is added. You see, as I told, right, bin we are sending in the applications, but in the browser we are getting as a JSON. So this starter they added. Okay, so if you go inside, you will get lot of things. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, Spring Boot internally, if you'll add this dependency here, internally it is adding all the required things. You no need to, as a developer, you no need to worry for anything. Okay, so this is called starter. This is Spring Boot starter POMs. Okay, this is the very important features we saw, right? If you'll see this embedded server, before Spring Boot, if you'll run any Spring application, what we used to do, can you remember that we need to add a, we need to configure a server here. Okay, but if you'll see here, we have not configured any server. Did you did anything? No, right? But it is running Tomcat server start on 8081. You see, and it is also showing lot of information. You see how much time it took. Okay, 0 millisecond. Here it took 1.4 seconds to start it, 1.443 seconds. Okay, so we'll see all these things. Okay, it started by using this Java 17. All this information is showing. So there is a embedded default embedded system, Tomcat system. It is in that it is loading. So as of now I explained what is the benefit we are getting from the Spring Boot, and two features I explained. One is Spring initializer. By using that Spring IO, we are able to create a simple application. Even complicated application you can create, no need to bother for this configuration and for the structure of the application. That is one, Spring initializer. And second feature is starter POMs. In the pom.xml file, any new feature you are adding, you will add that dependencies. Will not micromanagement kind of things. You will not add one by one all the dependencies, and you are not worried for any of the versions and all. Automatically it will take care of everything. Okay, these two features as of now we learned. Let's move to next feature. You see here, we learned Spring initializer, we learned starter POM, starter project. Now we'll see auto configuration. Okay, what is this auto configuration? Okay, So you remember before spring applications, spring boot applications, if you wanted to develop a spring mbc applications, you need to worried for this component scan, dispatcher servlet, you need to configure it, data source, anything, and Jackson, that framework, you need to add the dependencies. Okay, so all this configuration manually we used to do. Okay, but in the spring boot applications, they simplify it automatically. They have added all the required things. If you add one starter, that wave, okay, if you add wave, it will add this tomcat, it will configure this dispatcher servlet. And you see default error page, like if you will not find, I will show you what is this. Okay, and this Jackson, okay, bean to the json to bean, all these things they have added. Okay, this is auto configuration. How, what happen, you see, if will come here, all the auto, you added that web.xml, right? Web dependencies, right? There is a dependency here whenever we generated, right? You see, there is a dependency package, right? Here there is a spring boot auto configuration file is there, spring boot auto configure. Okay, here we added that web, right? You see, auto configure data web. Okay, to make you understand what I will do, now I will go to this application dot properties. Okay, let's close everything. I will go this resource application dot properties. What I will do, I will add a log. Okay, I will say logging dot label dot org dot spring framework equal to, I will say debug, or I will say trace. Okay, default it is showing info. Let me this time will show debug. Okay, logging dot label dot. Okay, so now what I will do, I will stop the application and I will restart the application. I will relaunch the application. Okay, you see the console here. What is happening? Okay, did not restart it properly. Let me restart one more time. I'm just stopping server and I'm relaunching it. Okay, you see, now we added that debug, right? You see debug option is coming. You see, positive, there is some positive matcher, conditions evaluation report, and there is some negative matcher. Okay, all the positive matchers, spring boot automatically added all the configurations. That means, you see here, dispatcher servlet configuration. Okay, if you open this class, I am just copying this class. Okay, and what you need to do to open the any of the dependencies, control shift T, then open that. You see, this is dispatcher configuration servlet. So this dispatcher servlet auto configuration, it is done by spring boot applications as we added that web. Okay, web dependencies. You see, it belongs to this web, and this is belong to this Spring Boot auto configure jar. Okay, so if you see this file, what it is automatically it is enabling whenever we are using this web application. So all these things they are just adding. You see other file as well. If we'll see here, okay, you see error auto configuration. What it is doing? If we'll come our application, and here employee list. Suppose I am trying to pass a something different which is not configured. It is showing whiteable error page, right? This kind of things, how it is coming? It is trying to get that it is not found, 404 error. So this kind of things they have configured actually here in this error configuration. So Control C, Control Shift T, you open this file. If we'll search, might be in this file they configure this. You see, so all these configuration kind of things they are taking care of it. Who is taking care? Spring Boot taking care. How we added that dependencies? That's what. So to make you understand, I added that debug. Okay, we are having this kind of things. Okay, we are having trace. Trace will print everything. It will print debug info, like then debug next label, then info. These are the log label, then warning, then error, then we are having op means nothing will show. So if we'll choose trace, it will print error, it will print warning, info, debug, all these things it will print. If we'll print debug, it will print debug, info, warnings, errors, all these things it will print. If we'll print info, it will print warning, error and info. If we'll give error, only error, warning and error. Like this, you should know this is the basic things. Okay, so we added debug, right? So debug info and all everything it is showing. Okay, so this is all about our auto configuration. I showed you, right, automatically how it is configured. Okay, so for Jackson, they have added one file. If you'll search, you will get it. Okay, like this, all this configuration they are taking care. Okay, now next move into next features, DevTools. Okay, so as of now I explained three features. One is Spring initializer, another is Spring starter forms, and another one is auto configuration. Then we'll see Spring Boot DevTools. Okay, you see each time I am doing some small changes. Okay, if I am doing some small changes, for example, if I'll add a, suppose some modification I will do, instead of Kiran I will do Hari. This modification we did, and if you refresh here, okay, we need to restart it. Okay, if each modification we need to restart it, then only it will impact. Why? It is not yet started. Let me stop it one more time. I stopped. Okay, now freshly I will start. Okay. Why it is not showing 8081 our port? It should work actually. So let's take this path, and might be some, okay, some cache issue maybe. Okay, so you see what I did, Hari. So this time what I will do, instead of Hari I will say Gopal. I did a small changes, and if I hit, still I am getting that old value. So to get that new value I need to stop the server, and I need to start the server. I need to restart the applications, server not server, like actually applications. Okay, applications running under that Tomcat embedded server. So if you hit now, you will get Gopal. So each time if you wanted to change something, why manually you need to restart your application? So that is the importance of DevTools. Okay, no need to, it will increase the developer productivity. So what for that, what we need to do, we need to add a dependency here in the pom.xml file. As like wave, we need to add one more dependency, that is DevTools. Okay, springboot hyphen DevTools. Okay, you see this time we added DevTools, so no need to restart for any Java changes, anything changes, you no need to add. But I will tell you, wait please. You see now what I will do, I will say Uma. Okay, you see once anything changes I am doing, automatically it is restarting the application. If we hit here, did I restarted the application? No, even you can add one more object. You see how simple it is. So because of this DevTools. Okay, but remember, if you wanted to add anything in the pom.xml in this file, you need to restart manually. It will not take care actually. So any application, if you do anything, then it will, any changes, then it will take care, automatically will restart. If you will add any dependencies here, so it will, you have to manually restart it. Okay, this is DevTools. This is a very important features in Spring Boot. So it is saving some times of the developers. Okay, now let's understand one more features, that is Spring Boot profiling. You know, right, whenever your application, whenever you are working in a company for a project, okay, so they are having multiple environment, right? Development dev environment, test environment, staging environment, QA environment, finally production environment. All this environment is there, right? Suppose in your application you wanted to run your application in dev environment by using some of the configuration, and same configuration will change to whenever we'll run the application in production or staging on QA or any other device or other environment. Why you wanted to know? Sometimes production environment is, it is communicating with a DB, but dev environment is not communicating with the same DB. The DB may be same different. Okay, and some of the URL, some of the configuration, some of the files. So if you wanted to different the configurations, so by using Spring Boot it's very easy to achieve that. That is known as Spring profiling. Okay, so to achieve that Spring profile, what you need to do, you need to change in this application properties file. As I told you, okay, you will have multiple application properties file. I am just copying this application properties file and trying to paste it. So application hyphen dev for dev one application file. And let's take simple. I will take only two applications. Okay, application dot properties instead of multiple. It will be complex. Okay, so dev and prod, two application properties file I have taken. Okay, so here let me remove this. So in the dev, let it be debug. Okay, but in the prod, wait, let me delete it. It is not properly showing. I will recreate it. Control C, Control V. Control C. I will say prod. Okay, let it be. So what I will do, I will say info. So for prod, I created one application properties file for production environment, and for dev environment I created one application file. I declare log label here debug, but in production I declare as info. And in the main application properties file, here you need to define one profiling. Okay, that is known as spring.profiles.active, and you need to define which profile you wanted to use. That is spring.profiles.active equal to, let's say, I will say prod. Prod means it will use prod. Okay, you see automatically it is restarting because of DevTools. Okay, so let me close it. Let me clear this because already it is there. Okay, and I will stop it manually. Okay, and I will clear the screen because we are pointing to prod, and I will start it one more times. Okay, let me start here. This bottom is relaunch, this is stop, this is start freshly. Okay, you see only info is showing, it is not showing debug label and all, because, and one more info, you see we pointed to prod, right? Is saying the following one profile is active. You see it is pointing to prod and only info label, because in the prod we declare as info. So here if you change in the application properties, in the main application properties, if you change to dev, in dev we define as debug. You see automatically it is restarting and it is showing debug and all. It is showing or not? You see all this debug mode it is showing. So this is called profiling. Even your username, password of the database and database connection properties, it might be different from one environment to another environment, right? So all this you can configure it. Even you can create a separate file for configuration, and that is called externalization. Okay, that is a very important feature in the Spring Boot. So what we will do, we are having some common configuration, and as per our required we'll use for any of the environment. That I will take care in a different session, otherwise video will be lengthy. Okay, so this is called Spring profiling. And next last feature, let's see what is this Spring enabled server. Okay, embedded server. So before Spring Boot, if we'll talk about old applications, what we need to do, we are installing this Java, and we need to configure this application server like WebLogic or Tomcat or anything WebSphere. These are the application server we need to configure in our ID. Then we need to create a war file, we need to deploy that war file. All these things we are using in the older project. Okay, but post Spring Boot we no need to configure this server, Tomcat or WebLogic and all. Okay, so we need to install Java and we need to run our Java. Run our Java means it will create our applications, right? So if will run it, you see what I'm trying to say here. You see, we created this application, right? So let me use prod. We can use dev also, because I don't want to see this long console. That's what I'm using prod. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, this application I will compile it, Maven install. Okay, I will build it actually. So what it is doing, it is building the application. It will take 1 or 2 minutes time. You see, build success. So once you build this application, one jar file is getting created. The jar file path it is giving. You see, download application target, and in the target this is the jar file name. You see, what will be the jar file name? We decided actually whenever we created, right, that artifact ID and group ID. Can you remember initially we given that, right? If will come this form.xml file, we given this artifact ID and a group ID, right? This is our group ID and this is our artifact ID, and this is here we version. Okay, this is the artifact ID, past application, and this is the version. So combination of these they have taken as the name. If you'll see here, fast application hyphen 001 snapshot jar, these jar under target, and this target is under download folder. Initially I downloaded that application here, right? If you come here, if you come here, there is a target folder, right? If you go to this target folder, this is the jar. If you open this jar cmd, okay, so let me, I will run this jar independently here. Now what I will do, I will stop the application. You see, completely I stopped it. This application is stopped. It's not running now. You see, if you hit, you will not get any result because application is stopped. Okay. So now what I will do, that jar file independently I will run here. What I will do, to run the jar file, uh, jar uh, java hyphen jar, maybe I forgot the command, and that jar file name. That jar file is dir. If you see, this is the jar file. So java hyphen jar, you see, this is the jar. If you hit it, it will run. Yes, the command is correct only. It is running, and it is running same information it is giving info mode. Okay, okay. If you try to hit it now, you see, you will get it running, and automatically it is refreshed. So before that data came. Okay, so if you do control C here, you cannot get the data. You see, so what I'm trying to say, that jar file we just compiled here, and that jar file independently we can run anywhere, right? So no need to worry. Actually this this actually jar is better than var. Okay, this Josh Long is the advocate for Spring framework and Spring Boot framework. He has suggested jar will use instead of var. Okay, and embedded server, default embedded server is Tomcat by Spring Boot. You can other embedded server also we can configure it, like JT, Undertow, other server also we can configure it. Okay, so another features, okay, that is Actuator. Okay, this is actually monitor your applications. Okay, suppose in your applications, what are the beans is running, how many objects is running, what is the space is taking, and if how many URL you clicked, and how many APIs is getting failed, all this information it will show. That is called actuator. So to achieve that actuator, what do we need to do? Only one configuration you need to change. Okay, that is in the pom.xml file. You need to add one starter and one configuration, that endpoints you need to declare. Okay, so what you need to do, you will come here. Okay, so you go to this pom.xml file first. Okay, let me close other. So here you need to add, like DevTools you did, right, or Spring Web you did, like you need to add actuator. You just search any dependencies you will get in the Google. Maven dependencies you can search. Starter, you can say actuator. Okay, so now what you need to do, if you go here, our DevTools is there. Okay, I stopped the application, so I need to restart it. I need to start one more times. Okay, so now here you see application is running, right? I stopped from here. Yes, let me close it. And this application, no, we need, it did not run, because default it is taking us, we compiled it last time, we Maven clean install we did, so we need to run like this. Okay, let it be run. So this time I enable actuator I define in that web.xml file, that dependencies. Okay, starter. So now it run. Okay, you see. So how to get that actuator, we can call like this actuator. Oh, some spelling mistake. Okay, no, this path is wrong actually. We need to give like this, because from the port label, you see. So what it is showing, health, our application is up, and other things. Suppose you wanted to see metrics and all, everything, more things you wanted to see, what you need to do, you need to go to this properties file, application, the main properties file. Here you need to add like this, like management dot endpoints, okay, let me type management dot endpoints. Okay, endpoints dot web dot exposure, like this you need to. Okay, exposure dot include equal to, suppose I wanted to include everything. So you see, now you hit it, you will see lot of things in our application. Okay, this is info. If you will go to this configuration, right, so all this configuration in the Spring Latex, it is not showing the values. It will show like which Tomcat server your application is running, all the data it will give. Okay, and you see here environment, sorry, that is the environment actually, it is giving all the ports, all this detail. Now it is hiding it. Okay, and you see loggers. Okay, this matrix you see, let me open in a new tab and close others. This matrix if you open, what it is, all the things you can see, how much time it is taking, what is the disk space, what is total space count. You see there is a property called http server request. If you wanted to see, so yeah, you see how many times we count, how many times we hit our API 6, and what is the time it took in millisecond, maximum, minimum, all this detail is saying. Okay, what are those details you see. And for example, suppose this is our application, right? I am hitting suppose multiple times. Okay, now I hit, you see this count will be increased. It was 6, now it is showing 17, right? Okay, if you'll see, it was 6, now it is 18 because we hit once. If we hit one more times, it will be 20. Okay, so like this, it is checking our health. Okay, health of the applications. Monitor and manage your application in your production environment, anywhere you wanted to check. And how many beans is created, if you see, there is a beans. Okay, you see all the beans we created, that employee controller, right? You see there is a beans, and dispatcher, servlet, everything, all these beans, how many beans is created, so many things it will come. Okay, so metrics, all these things, health mappings, all these things you will able to know that. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. I explained, if you'll review, like I explained why the spring boot and what are the benefits we are getting from the spring boot, how it is easy, and what is the difficult things in spring before spring boot, and what are the important features like spring initializer, starter, forms, and all these features, actuator, embedded server, DevTools, spring profiling, so auto configuration, all these things I explained. I hope it will be useful. If any doubt, please let me know in a comment section, I will respond. If you really like the video, please comment and like, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot for watching this video. We'll meet in new videos. Okay.